I want to jump right in because I feel like we're going to have, and then because I want to give you guys time to ask them questions as well. So I figured I'd start with asking you about your inspirations in approaching your roles. I know that, Diana, you are in real life a mother yourself, and so I'm curious as to whether or not that was something you drew from, but just from both of you guys, what were your inspirations for this role?
Lulu's parents. Lulu's dad, who's an amazing individual. He is so special that you don't really see what kind of a person that dad, Haiyan, is in the film. So, but the story is not about Haiyan, obviously. So spending time with mom and dad and Nai Nai, and it's really I think to be in this profession, these are the special moments that you get the opportunity to meet other individuals who are special, and for them to inspire you from their own stories is our our blessing, really, to be able to meet with them, spend weeks together, and they were throughout the filming. They were there for us to draw our resources from. So they were the inspiration. The family was the inspiration. Lulu is an inspiration as a brilliant young director. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those projects that's rare that you get to draw inspiration from every corner of the set. So that's what it is.
Absolutely.
For me, I think because I'm the first generation of migrants, so when I read the story, the time for me to migrate to Australia and for Lulu moms, very much same year. So when I started reading the script, straight away I seem to understand everything. Of course, when I spend a lot of time with Lulu's mom, I even, copied some of her emotion, the way, she presents. She's such amazing lady. So I'm just so grateful, and I have opportunity to present that the first generation migrants' mom who's come from China, mainland China background, speak Mandarin, and then have opportunity to put such a beautiful story on the stage, and let so many audience get related. So that's.
Yeah,
hope that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's fascinating because I've never met Lulu's parents, and for those of you who don't know, The Farewell is an autobiographical film, and so even though Awkwafina plays a character named Billy, that's basically Lulu and her story of her parents and her grandmother and that sort of thing. I was struck because I listened to the This American Life, episode that she originally where she originally told her story. And if you haven't heard that, I definitely recommend it. It's so interesting to hear the same touching story in a totally different medium. But what struck me when I first listened to the This American Life, and then I saw The Farewell, and it felt like you guys had really captured her parents, because her parents are heard, right? She interviews her parents on This American Life. And it's not just I'm not just talking about vocal mimicry, I'm not talking about the accent or that sort of thing, but there's something about the essence of, you could tell the relationship they each have with Lulu. What really struck you when you were meeting her real parents, that for each of you guys, when you're working on character work, and especially if you're playing a real person, where you were like, I really want to make sure that I get this essence of this person across?
The interesting part of it is that was the motivation to want to work with Lulu, was the This American Life broadcast. See, Lulu's a smart lady. So she sends me an email saying, I'm doing this project. She sent me no script. So she sends me a link to This American Life podcast. He said, why don't you listen to that first? And I did. It really captured me because I can hear all their voices. And I really feel that this family has something to offer. So I think I was the first actor she approached to do this film. And I'm honored and flattered, of course. And listening to their voices really motivated me. And there isn't, I mean, I'm not a mimicker, you know? I don't mimic anything in anybody. But there's an essence about Haiyan that is so kind of solid and grounded that you absorb him and you allow that to happen. I think that the fact that he's such a diplomat, because that's what he was. He was a Russian translator for the Chinese delegation to Russia at the time. So he knows his way around in terms of relationships, you know, personal dynamics. And I see that within that family dynamics and what he does and how he, you know, kind of mingles with his wife and daughter and mother. I mean, because, you know, Lulu's mom is like really, obviously, you know, Diana portraying her in such a beautiful way, is a very strong personality. And Nai is no weakling either. So you really have to have Haiyan somewhere in the middle, negotiating these kind of, you know, these kind of powerful dynamics, which I think it's including Billy. I mean, really, it's like these three women, and he's right in the middle of it to try to negotiate, you know, how to keep the peace, basically. So that's what really inspired me, you know, in that character. And I think you kind of see this dynamic in the film where the strength coming from Lulu's mom is extraordinary, really. And their relationship, you know, with Haiyan and Yin, it's just so, with so much respect and love. I find it really rare and extraordinary.
Yeah.
Oh, for me, I think I'm just think I'm really, really lucky. As an actress, you don't want to play all the actors, you know, any character look the same. So it just happened I got that character. Lulu mom is someone really unique, but of course universal. So I spent a lot of time with her, basically digging out all her life stories. And Lulu kept a lot of videos. She liked that. So when we got into Changchun, we have seen all the video when even her father talk about the jokes. And Tai said, look at her mom. The way, actually, in the movie, the way I was laughing or whatever, I did imitate a lot of her. But she's type of person, doesn't show emotion. She look very cool, but deep in her heart, when you start knowing her, she's such a genuine, nice, lovely person. And also, we've been requested to go to Lulu's family. I spent time with her mom, her grandma together, one in the living room talking about it, the other one in the kitchen. So that typical mother-in-law story. So you spend so much time with the whole family, the real story, basically, I mean, as acting, what do you really act is relationship. So when you get everyone's relationship all correct, and everything just come right. Yeah. So I'm just so lucky. Lulu mom is such a unique, genuine, beautiful mom, and she have a lot of universal things with all the Asian moms. I guess you're all great, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think we're fortunate where at this point we've had a couple of years where we've had the opportunity to really tell the difference between a story told about a Chinese family that comes from an authentic place and those that are sort of like outsiders attempting to depict what that looks like. And, you know, when I saw The Farewell, I kind of felt like, wow, I feel like I don't want to ever see another movie that's not made by a Chinese person, Chinese American, talking about what Chinese American families are like. There was a lot of nuance to it. And one of the nuances, I mean, I think you guys both touched on it, is that I think what was great was there were elements, obviously, I recognized of my own parents, you know, in your depictions. And part of that was the fact that Billy's dad and mom have very different relationships with her. It's a different dynamic. It's not just just like whatever, here's the man version, here's the female version of her parents. Can you talk a little bit about how you developed and what your understanding of, you know, your specific parent-child relationship in this movie was? You know, she relates to her dad really differently from how she relates to her mom.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, I mean, Lulu's daddy's girl, for sure. Mom is more of a partner. I mean, they have such an intense relationship between mother and daughter that you have. But she also relies on mom. You know, in terms of her work, she will run by mom and say, "Okay, what do you think of this writing?" Because the script is in Chinese and in English. So, and you know, if you see in the film, 80% of the film's in Mandarin. Yeah. So really, her mom did the translation. So yes, she translated she translated it. So you're talking about, you know, they're more like these coexisting partners, you know, in their work. Whereas dad is more of a emotional support because they can fight. Trust me. I mean, mom and Lulu, it's just like they can, you know, they can duke it out in some really meaningful fights, man. And Haiyan, the ultimate diplomat, really. I think he navigates that world so beautifully. And I'd say The Farewell, within The Farewell, really there's like about 4 of the films that she can make. And they will all be really interesting. So.
I heard even audition the mom roles. Actually, Lulu mom was involved. Oh my God. This one too ugly. And then they said, that's not real you. Yeah. And then they said when she saw my audition, she said, she seems to understand. That's so funny.
Yeah, no, I can see that. And to be honest, sometimes my mom helps me translate my Chinese interviews. So
really?
It's all a collaborative partnership.
So cool.
Yeah. On the same side, like I think, you know, just as you guys have very different relationships with your daughter in the film, you guys also have very different relationships with China. And I think part of what I noticed about that was, again, I think this is something that maybe people who are ABCs or other like Asian Americans can relate to, is the language, the fact that Billy and her dad mostly speak in English. And I think that means something about how her dad feels about his life decisions. And Billy and her mom speaks Chinese to her. Yeah. Again, similar to how my mom speaks to me mostly in Mandarin, and like I'll usually speak in English back, or sometimes, you know, but was that a conscious, I'm just curious about when you guys were making the film, like, were these things that you talked about? Was it already on the script? You know, how did that come about?
I think Lulu yes, I think that those are the dynamics. But Lulu is also very smart, knowing that I am not a native Mandarin speaker. So she knows that, you know what, maybe better keep his dialogue more with the English side than the Mandarin side. But she never tells me that, which is great, because it's not like, you know, then you sit back and say, oh my God, I sound terrible. And then there's a coach on set, and he was terrific. He was a professor, a drama professor at the university in Changchun. And, okay. But really, I think both is the director's calculation on who we are as people and the actual dynamics, you know, within the family between, you know, mother-daughter and father-daughter. And I think they're both is true, you know, and she navigates that really well too.
Lulu is good on the way, like even her mom translate the script and somehow whatever on side, I said, no, that doesn't sound right. It's not really natural. Normally we wouldn't use that this way to put unless you're on the writing. And she lets us to do whatever she thinks the best. So to give us a lot of freedom, that makes things.
Well, because you can do it. You see, she could do that because.
I couldn't do that in English.
But you know, her language is so fluid.
Yeah.
That she can actually make those, you know, suggestions and changes. I mean, you ask me, I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd be sitting there, yeah, okay, whatever you want. Just give me the page, and we're set, you know. So.
Well, I mean, again, last year when we all saw Crazy Rich Asians, for me, and I think for a lot of Asian Americans, it was the first time we had seen a film in which people looked like you and sounded like you at the same time. Because a lot of times for Asian Americans, that's always been different. You watch a movie in English and they're white. Or you watch a movie with all Asian faces and they're speaking Chinese or they're speaking Korean or Japanese. And Crazy Rich Asians was the first time we had both. And then when I saw The Farewell, it was the first time where I saw a movie that just flipped back and forth, you know, from Zhongwen to English, like back and forth, like you don't even know.
I hope you understand my English.
And that, no, I do. Diana, I understand your English because you sound like my mom. So that's why I understand exactly. And you know, my mom, sorry.
I don't need to perform. That's my natural accent.
I
sorry about that. I'm sure most of your moms like that, right? So easy to understand.
Right? I mean, to me, I've always joked, and my mom will joke, she speaks with such confidence. She's very confident in her English.
Like me.
So she'll say things, and then at the store, people will be like, wait, am I saying that word wrong? You know, but, you know, expensive. This is too expensive. And people were like, oh, yeah, it's too expensive. You know?
You're right.
I love my mom. It's just confidence. That's all that matters.
She willed you to do that.
She wills you.
She wills you to do
Understanding
that.
her.
That's right.
But that was very true to the character. You know, and like you mentioned, Ty, earlier, this film, there's like 4 different movies that can come out of it. And, you know, we haven't even gotten into the central premise of the movie, which is that, you know, obviously this is about a family coming together in a time of grief because, you know, again, I'll just say the premise for those you haven't seen, but at the beginning, Billy's Nai is diagnosed with cancer, and the family practice is to basically, you want to spare, you know, your loved one the grief. So they decide not to tell her, and they all come back to China to stage a fake wedding as the reason for coming back. I'm curious about how, like, you guys brought your own understanding of, like, was this a practice that you had in your own family where this is something your family would have done, and how that sort of, you know.
Well, definitely, I think that's in China, every family would do it.
Would do it that way?
Yeah, so everyone believed the manpower. So most people, like, I have a friend, and the father met me and said, how's the auntie, how's the Ai? She died because soon after she diagnosed with cancer, and the in Australia, doctor told her 3 months later, you know, she's gone, and the husband really blamed the doctor.
Oh.
He said if in China they wouldn't tell her, she would be still here. So that's very much everyone believes. So that's common practice.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
My family's kind of split. You know, my sisters are the quiet ones. They won't say a word. My brother, however, he will tell you. So it's kind of interesting, you know. And culturally, really, I mean, I'm kind of a 1.5 guy, right? You know, I was born in Hong Kong, but I was raised here. So it's a real dilemma for me to watch the family dynamics, because I know my sisters will never, ever talk about their own illnesses, or not even to each other. But my brother will come and say, you know, I don't feel good. So it's kind of interesting. I'm not quite sure. I mean, that was one of the first questions that I asked Lulu. I said, what statement are we making here? ultimately, are we saying that we shouldn't be honest, or what's the what is your message? That was one of the questions I asked Lulu, and Lulu said, "Well, we're just presenting it. We're not making any judgment one way or the other." And I was satisfied with that answer, really, because there is no, in the film you will see that we don't say either way is right or wrong. It's just that that's what happened. So hopefully it will, either bring up some kind of sense of truth for you, the audience, and I don't know, ultimately, what is the answer? I don't really know.
I like that the film, you're right, it kind of explores the different vantage points without judging it, right? And so I'm thinking of that conversation that Billy has with her uncle. And because she's like, this is so unloving. Like how, as Westerners, we think that people have individual rights to know. But I think what the farewell sort of reminded, and again, it was so enlightening, was that a lot of times in Asian culture, there's more of a self-sacrifice. Like it's selfish to put the burden onto Nai Nai, because then she has to comfort us while she's the one who has cancer.
Right.
And that was a point of view that I hadn't thought of from my American perspective originally. I'm curious about just the process of shooting in China, what that was like for you guys. I think you guys have both done projects there, before, but, I think it's pretty rare because this was an American production. This is a Hollywood movie that's being shot in China. How did that differ from previous experiences you guys have had?
Well, The Farewell is my first film in China.
It's your first time shooting in China?
Yes, first time shooting in China. So it's all new to me. But this is a treat for you guys because we have Diana who's worked under that system in China and how they work. And, obviously I've worked here all my life. So going to China to work on I guess it is co-production. It is a co-production, between China and the U.S. Because there were two SAG actors, who were working, me and Aquafina. So you have to abide for some SAG rules. So you can't work 7 days a week. So I think the crew was really grateful.
They're like, this is great. We should
Because in China, when they filming, never have a day off.
You see?
Suddenly, wow, 6 days, we can have 1 day off. That's like a Christmas for them.
So, we were pretty welcome there. We gave them a day off. So that was really cool. I noticed that in China, there are less kind of compartmentalized. This department would do that, and it just feels like they're very enthusiastic. The crew. I mean, you ask for a C-stand, give me a C-stand, and then 4 C-stands coming rushing at you. But only, like the doorway is only so big. And I think it's really, I love these guys. And the first day we were shooting, there were some cars in the way. So the crew actually picked up the car. 2 cars. They picked up 2 cars and moved it. Manually picked it up because they couldn't find the driver. I think that's pretty cool. I don't think we can do that here.
China finds a way to get things done.
Yeah.
They don't have to cut through.
I mean, I admire that. And another thing that I really kind of enjoy, the work in the Chinese system, is that if you're a senior actor like me, they would never call me by my name. There was a teacher, so teacher Ma. And I'm sitting there going like, okay, that's pretty nice. I enjoy that, and really, I had a great time there. And understanding that these guys, man, work really. There are no days off, no hours. I don't think this can ever happen here, really. So I think maybe a blend of these two systems would be kind of nice. No trailers though. There's no trailers in China, so that was kind of rough.
Yeah. No trailer.
So what do you think?
Well,
Do you like working like with us, getting a day off? I'm just saying.
But because I worked there, mainly my majority work was before I came to Western world. So that was like late 1980s. That was all different. So lately I did back a little bit, but I'm just have little fun. I didn't work that hard, so of course. So when I signed contract, I said, I just want to have my conditions same as American. That's it. And where is that?
Oh, I see. So your stuff has to be spelled out.
No,
so it has to be
with the
contractual.
contract, I
I
don't
see.
need details as long as I'm same as the American because I know I'm playing with them. Won't be too bad.
Favored nations.
Yes.
I want to open it up to see if you guys have any questions for Diana and Ty. This is a good opportunity to tell them how you feel about watching the farewell. Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
So I was wondering if you got any feedback from Chinese audience or people from here, like Americans, especially not Asian, or people from China or Asia. Then, is there a different reaction, or how do they read the story differently, or is actually the same?
Well, I was actually in the Shanghai Film Festival just this year, and they actually screened the farewell at the Shanghai Film Festival. So that's the only experience I have. And there were 2 screenings. For some reason, one was for kind of the older, audience, and one was basically all college kids.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know why that happened, but it happened. And I was at the college kids screening. And I noticed that there are certain places where the Chinese audience would laugh and the American audience didn't. And then you would have moments where you can hear the agreement from the audience. Oh. You can feel the nodding, and whereas here, those moments are not quite there. They kind of, and Western audience are more emotional about what happened for some reason. I don't know. Whereas the younger audience that I was part of the screening with, they didn't really get emotional because they just feel that it's so normal. So it was kind of interesting, with that experience. So I don't know how the Chinese audience is going to react to this film. Hopefully favorably, that they would enjoy the film and enjoy the journey and enjoy our experience, as a family, and let the chip fall where they may.
Well, I read a little bit Chinese Weibo, Toutiao. I don't know if you understand.
She's connected.
Yeah. Well, friends sent to me, a majority of them actually, and the young ones who's putting reviews, and I think they love it. And most of them just seen the really trailer, and they're so looking forward. Most of them, I think, teenagers. Hopefully.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good.
So some people said, so I'm start crying already just watching the trailer, and they will talk about the experience of their parents, grandparents, or whatever. Well, that's just some.
Tell me what you told me in the green room about, the grandparents and the relationship between the grandparents.
That's what
and
I
the
think.
grandchildren.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just an actor. I'm not a marketer. So for me, I know that at this generation, the parents in China, the challenge, the business, I think all the parents are very busy. And for China, that's a very common way of let the children be looked after by grandparents. So somehow I'm thinking these generations have to be really strong relationship with their grandchildren, grandparents. I think they're going to like it. And majority of the audience in China, it is the young ones.
Yeah.
So I was hoping in that respect, maybe going to doing okay.
You see?
That makes sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I
pretty
think
cool.
so. That movie, if you haven't seen it already, it makes you miss your grandma like crazy.
Yes.
So it's really.
For sure.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think we're out of time. So I just wanted to thank you again, Ty and Diana, right? We're wrapping up.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you guys so much.